You know that satisfying click when you plug an internet cable into your laptop? We all know that sound. But have you ever stopped to wonder about the incredible story that's packed inside that simple little wire? Well, today, we're going to uncover the amazing journey of Ethernet.
Welcome, everyone, to Cognoto Key. I'm so glad you're here with us as we unlock some of the big ideas that shape our digital world.
So let's get right into it. What is actually going on inside that cable? What's the magic that lets you stream your shows, play your games, and connect with the whole world? That's the mystery we're going to solve today. Now, before we can even talk about the cable itself, we've got to understand the world it lives in. See, every single wired connection is part of a little local neighborhood of devices, which we call a local area network, or you've probably heard it, a LAN. Think of a LAN like a private party for all your tech. It could be all the computers in your office, or maybe the gaming console, printer, and laptops in your house. They're all physically wired together so they can chat directly with each other without having to go out onto the public internet. So, what if you wanted to build one of these LANs? What do you actually need? Well, it's probably a lot simpler than you think. Let's take a look at the essential toolkit. Okay, first things first. Every single device needs a way to, speak the network's language. That's the job of something called a network interface card, or what we usually just call a NIC. It's kind of like a built-in translator with that special doorway, that familiar port where you plug the cable in. Next up, you need the road itself, the actual physical path for all of that data to travel on. And that is our star for today, the Ethernet cable. It's wild to think that these cables have evolved from carrying just 1 megabit per second to being thousands of times faster today. All right, so you've got all these devices with their cables, but how do they connect to each other? For that, you need a central hub, and this is where a switch comes into play. It's like a super smart traffic controller. It makes sure that when your laptop wants to send something to the printer, it goes only to the printer and not to your TV by mistake. And finally, the glue that holds this whole thing together is the software. These are the protocols, basically the official rulebook, that make sure all these different bits of hardware can understand each other and work together as one big happy network. Now, it's interesting because back in the day, it wasn't a sure thing that we'd all be using the system we are today. There were a bunch of different technologies, like token ring and FDDI, all fighting to be the standard for these LANs. But one technology just won, and it has dominated ever since. Its name, of course, is Ethernet. So how did it win so decisively? Well, this quote right here hits the nail on the head. Ethernet survived because it was built to change. It had this amazing ability to keep updating itself to get better and better, while all its competitors kind of got left in the dust. And this is maybe the single most important thing to understand today. When we say Ethernet, we're not just talking about the cable. Not at all. We're talking about the entire communication standard, the official set of rules, the whole language that devices use to talk to each other. It's the language, not just the wire. And that ability to change, to evolve, is really the most exciting part of this whole story. You can actually see the history of Ethernet in 4 massive generations, each one a huge leap forward in speed. Okay, get ready for this. It all started with standard Ethernet at about 10 megabits per second, then a huge jump to fast Ethernet at 100. Then came gigabit Ethernet at 1,000 megabits, and today, 10 gigabit Ethernet. At every single step, the speed increased by 10 times. That is just an incredible pace of innovation. That first big jump to fast Ethernet was massive. Not only was it 10 times faster, but it introduced this absolutely brilliant feature called auto-negotiation. This meant devices could automatically figure out the fastest speed to talk to each other at. It made setting up a network so much easier for everyone. And then the jumps just got even more mind-blowing. Gigabit Ethernet was 100 times faster than the original, and 10 gigabit, that's an incredible 1,000 times faster. This constant need for speed is exactly why Ethernet is still so important, from everything from streaming 4K movies to powering huge, massive data centers. So with all this incredible speed, you have to wonder, how does all that data not just crash into each other and create one giant digital traffic jam? Well, it uses a very clever and, believe it or not, a surprisingly polite system. It has this fancy technical name, CSMA/CD, but you can just forget that. The easiest way to think about it is like a very well-mannered dinner party conversation. You wouldn't just start shouting over someone, would you? No, you listen first to see if anyone else is talking. That is exactly how Ethernet works. Here's how it breaks down. First, your device listens to the wire. Is it busy? If it is, it just waits. If the line is free, it starts sending its data. But, and this is the really smart part, it keeps listening while it talks, just in case two devices start at the exact same time. If that happens, we call it a collision. They both immediately stop, wait a totally random little moment, and then start the whole process over. So simple, but so effective. All right, let's just quickly recap the big ideas from today. 1. A LAN is just our local network of wired devices. 2, and this is the most important one, Ethernet is a standard, a whole set of rules, not just the cable itself. 3, it became the champion because it just kept getting faster and faster. And 4, it keeps everything running smoothly using that clever listen before you talk system.
And that brings us to a really interesting question for the future. We live in a world where Wi-Fi is getting incredibly fast, we have 5G everywhere, so the big question is, will that trusty, reliable wired Ethernet cable remain the king for speed and stability? Or will the wireless world finally take its crown? It's definitely something to think about.
Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you had a good time and learned something new, it would mean so much to us if you could hit that like button, share this with someone you think might find it interesting, and of course, subscribe to Cognito Key for more deep dives into our digital world. Until next time, stay curious.